For traditional or independent publishing? Well, I'm a hybrid author, which means I do both. Um, I have contracts with a bunch of publishers, um, and I have my own publishing outfit called Bear Media, and we employ editors and artists and all that sort of stuff. Um, and the reason why I do both is because um, I put out a lot of material, and a ton of material, and I write at pulp speed, um, which means I can do like 2 to 3 thousand words a day, and that's just part time. Um, and there are certain series that I have, and certain books that I have, that a traditional publisher would never touch. You know, they just wouldn't be interested in it. And so there, but that a lot of my readers, a lot of my fans, my fan base, love, absolutely love. I write a lot of short stories. I write a lot of novelettes. Um, one of which was just a finalist for a Derringer Award. See, I had to get that in there, right? And I work with the publishers on more traditional stuff, like psychological thrillers, like Paradox Lake, which is my brand new one coming out on May 18th. And there's benefits to both. In traditional publishing, you get an advance usually, fairly decent advance, although advances are going way down these days. And you get the reviews from the majors like Publishers Weekly, and some newspapers and things like that, Book Reporter, Library Journal, which is very important. And you get some Hollywood attention. I get a lot of Hollywood attention. Never sold anything, but I get a lot of attention anyway. The independent side of things, you go to market immediately, whereas in the traditional side, it could take up to a year to get your book published. For instance, my agent just sold one of my books last week to Suspense Publishing of Suspense Magazine, and that book won't see the light of day until summer 2022, and that's even pretty quick. But if it were being published by my house, I could have it in front of readers' eyes within the month, depending upon my editor's schedule. However, the independent books aren't going to get reviewed that well. Maybe in the mommy blogs or something like that, but not really going to get reviewed. Probably will be passed over by Hollywood, stuff like that. It's not always the case, but it's just it's more the norm. And there's another reason why I'm filling up my independent coffers as well, and that's because I own all the property rights. I own all the intellectual property rights. I own the copyrights. I get, like 100% of the profits, basically. I mean, Amazon takes their cut or whatever, but for the most part, my royalties are almost double or tripled, maybe quadrupled as compared to traditional publishing. And one more thing, this pandemic has really taken its toll on traditional publishing, at least for pulp writers and crime writers like myself. I think we're down to like 3 major publishing houses. Maybe it's 4, but maybe 3, and those are all under the Bertelsmann. Under the Bertelsmann House in New York City. At least 3 of the major publishers or printers rather went out of business. A bunch of distributors went down. So it's the traditional publishing is getting harder and harder and harder. Can Jake Tapper get his thriller published for probably a big advance? Yeah, the guy's a celebrity. So now he writes fiction and reads fiction on TV. Anyway, I won't get into that stuff. But it's just the writing on the wall. Ironically, children's book writers and YA writers are actually doing very well during this pandemic because of all the teaching at home type stuff, and the kids need books to entertain them and all that sort of stuff. But that doesn't apply to me. In any case, I don't see why you can't balance both independent publishing and traditional publishing. Do I piss off a lot of publishers because I put out so much material? Sometimes I do, I have to admit it. And there have been at least one or two publishers that are like, I can't deal with him anymore. He puts out too much material. Okay, what can I say? But I write a lot, and I want to feed it to my fans because they're hungry. And so I'm going to use any avenue I can to get my books out there.